today we're tackling a really interesting puzzle. How India is navigating its energy future.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
You share this ET Energy World article, and it really highlights what seems like a contradiction. A country with huge energy needs, but also really ambitious clean energy goals.
Exactly. The article, How India Can Invent the Oil and Gas Company of the Future, from March 2025, it dives right into that.
Yeah.
You've got India aiming for net zero by 2070.
Which is huge.
Targeting 50% renewables by 2030, I think. And yet they're actively pushing for more offshore oil exploration, like really pushing.
Right. So how do those things, how do they square up? That's our mission today in this deep dive, really, to unpack that seeming contradiction. We want to understand the strategies, the technologies India is looking at to modernize its oil and gas, make it more efficient, safer, less damaging, I suppose.
Balancing today's needs with tomorrow's goals. It's a tightrope walk.
It really is. So what does it actually mean to ramp up oil exploration while you're also making these major climate commitments? Let's get into it.
Okay, so that contradiction. Let's start there. Big renewable goals, 50% by 2030, net zero 2070. But also, like you said, opening over 1 million square kilometers for offshore drilling.
Yeah, and reforming regulations to actually encourage it.
Yeah.
So what's behind this dual track?
Well, I think the core of it is India's basic energy reality. The article points out they import something like, 80% of their oil?
80%. Yeah, that's a huge number. And mostly from OPEC plus nations, right?
Mostly, yeah. Now, factor in their growth. The population's still growing, massive urbanization happening, manufacturing boom. All of that just means
more energy needed. A lot more.
Exactly. So renewables are definitely part of the future picture, but the sheer scale of demand right now and what's projected, fossil fuels are still critical.
So finding more oil domestically isn't just about the money then?
Not entirely, no. It's also strategic. Reducing that dependence on imports, especially from potentially volatile regions or blocks like OPEC plus R, it gives them more economic stability, more autonomy.
Okay, that makes sense. A strategic cushion.
Yeah.
Almost. The article also had this interesting phrase about India being a potential proving ground for climate-friendlier oil operations because they already face climate volatility.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. The idea is because they're already experiencing severe climate impacts, maybe they have a stronger incentive, a stronger push to innovate.
To make their own oil and gas sector more resilient and maybe less impactful.
Sort of, yeah. Turning a vulnerability into a driver for, climate compliant operations. It's an optimistic view, but interesting.
Okay, so challenge meets opportunity. Now, the article shifts focus pretty heavily to this $100 billion opportunity in exploration and production. And digital transformation seems absolutely central to that. Why digital? Why now?
Well, it comes back to that dual challenge, doesn't it? They need to exploit these resources relatively quickly to meet demand, but they also need to minimize the environmental fallout. We know India's overall emissions have been rising, unfortunately. Digital tools offer a way to do things faster, yes, but also smarter, more efficiently, less wastefully, right across the board.
From finding it to getting it out.
Exactly, throughout the whole project lifecycle. Faster, hopefully on budget, and crucially, less waste.
And the article really singles out digital twins, calls them the cornerstone of lifecycle information management. Can you break that down? What is a digital twin in this context?
Sure. So imagine a perfect virtual replica of a real-world asset. It could be a drilling platform, a pipeline, even a whole refinery.
Okay, like a sophisticated 3D model?
More than that. It's a living model. It's constantly fed real-time data from the actual physical thing. Okay. Sensors tracking pressure, temperature, flow rates, maintenance logs, everything.
Wow. Okay, so it mirrors reality constantly?
Yeah.
What's the benefit?
Huge benefits. You can run simulations. What if this valve fails? What if we change this process? You can analyze performance in minute detail. And maybe most importantly, you can predict potential problems before they happen.
Ah, so predictive maintenance, spotting failures before they occur. That sounds incredibly valuable for safety and avoiding costly downtime.
Absolutely. And the numbers back it up. That Hexagon report suggests, a 27% annual ROI? Through better revenue and lower costs, that gets attention.
I'll bet.
Plus, you see these forecasts, like GlobalData predicting the market for these digital twins in oil and gas will grow 6 times by 2030. It shows where the industry sees value. It's like having a crystal ball, almost. You can stress test scenarios virtually.
Right, testing for price shocks or supply issues without actually breaking anything.
Precisely. Things you couldn't really do before.
So this digital push, it's not just about the upstream, the exploration and production side. The article suggests it goes right through the whole system.
Oh, definitely. The benefits apply right across the value chain. Think refining, transportation, the whole lot. The article gives that example of Hexagon working with the Numaligarh Refinery.
What did they do there?
They helped create what they called a single source of truth for safety-critical information. Basically, bringing all the vital data procedures, maintenance, safety protocols into one integrated digital system.
Instead of scattered spreadsheets and binders, I imagine.
You got it. It makes decision-making faster, much more informed, and it cuts down risks significantly. Everyone's working off the same up-to-date information.
And we're seeing this trend globally, too, right? The article mentions SASREF, the Saudi Aramco shell refinery.
Yeah, exactly. SASREF moving away from paper procedures, digitizing workflows. It shows this isn't just an India thing. It's where the modern industry is heading. Efficiency, accuracy, safety, digital helps deliver all three.
And you'd expect international companies involved in India to push this even further.
For sure. As international players bring in their own standards and tech, it often accelerates adoption locally.
Okay, so beyond efficiency, there's the environment. The article talks about big investments by Indian companies to upgrade refineries for BS6 fuel. What's the significance there?
BS6 is a big deal for air quality. Compared to the older BS4 standard, BS6 fuel has much, much lower sulfur content, like 10 parts per million versus 50.
And less sulfur means?
Less sulfur dioxide emissions when the fuel is burned, and also enables more advanced catalytic converters, which cut down other pollutants like particulate matter and NOx. It's a direct hit on air pollution, especially in cities.
And this was driven by regulations, you said?
Yes, this wasn't optional. Recent regulations mandated the shift, which shows a clear policy direction towards cleaner operations, even within the fossil fuel sector. It's a tangible environmental step.
And all these things, the tech upgrades, the cleaner fuel, they must tie into reliability, safety, and just...
Reputation.
Yeah. Reputation, right.
India's role is growing, so the spotlight gets brighter.
Absolutely. As India becomes more central to global energy flows, its operational standards, both tech and environmental, get compared globally. There's more scrutiny. And past incidents, unfortunately, play a role in perception. The article mentions the Mumbai High fire back in 2005 and that awful barge sinking during Cyclone Tauktae in 2021.
Yes, those events were tragic and definitely shaped public and industry views on safety. The report suggests things have improved since then. Safety protocols are stronger.
But it remains a massive focus area.
It has to be. And frankly, it's not just about doing the right thing, though that's primary. It's hard economics, too. Accidents mean fines, potentially huge lawsuits, soaring insurance costs.
You could even become uninsurable, potentially.
Exactly. So there's a powerful financial incentive driving safety performance. Plus, poor reliability, unexpected shutdowns can really disrupt supply, especially during peak times like festivals. That has knock-on effects everywhere.
So safety and reliability are absolutely fundamental, both ethically and economically.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, let's dig into the tech for efficiency and emissions reduction a bit more. Hexagon believes existing facilities can see big improvements.
Yeah, the idea isn't just about building new, shiny stuff. It's about making existing assets work better, safer, cleaner. The Harbor Energy example is pretty neat.
The North Sea producer, what are they doing?
They're using a sophisticated digital twin, pulling in operational data, documents, even laser scans of the facility to allow engineers in India to conduct remote inspections of their North Sea platforms.
Remote inspections from India to the North Sea.
Yep. Saves travel, reduces personnel exposure to harsh environments, and critically, this detailed digital view helps them spot ways to improve processes that might be missed otherwise.
That's pretty cool. And what about maintenance? The article mentioned AI and predictive maintenance.
Right, so moving beyond just fixing things when they break or routine scheduled maintenance, using things like enterprise asset management or EAM software coupled with AI.
How does the AI part work?
It analyzes streams of data vibration, temperature, pressure, historical trends, looking for tiny patterns that signal a potential failure is developing before it actually happens.
So you can intervene proactively. Fix it before it fails.
Exactly. Less downtime, safer operations, equipment lasts longer. It shifts maintenance from reactive to predictive and proactive, analyzing patterns a human might never spot.
Makes sense. And having all this data in one place, these centralized platforms, that helps with emissions reduction too.
Absolutely. When you can see the whole picture production, energy use, maintenance schedules, emissions data all integrated, you can make much smarter decisions.
Like identifying the biggest sources of emissions and the most cost-effective ways to tackle them.
Precisely. And understanding the downstream impacts. If we change X, how does it affect Y and Z, including emissions? You need that integrated view.
And this data-driven approach must also apply to those complex shutdowns and turnarounds, STOs, which the article said often go over budget and schedule.
Oh, definitely. That ministry report from 2021 pointed out the common culprits: poor collaboration, messy data, lack of proper software.
So better digital tools and shared platforms can streamline that whole process.
Significantly. Better planning, better execution, better safety during these high-risk, high-cost events. It's all about having the right information available to the right people at the right time.
Okay, finally, the article brings up future-proofing and this idea of corporate citizenship. Reliability isn't just technical anymore.
No, it's broader now. In today's world, especially for major energy companies, there's an expectation of transparency and genuine commitment. To the environment, yes, but also to the communities where they operate.
So it's about being a good neighbor, essentially.
And proving it, maintaining and sharing accurate, accessible data on community impacts, safety performance, environmental protection measures. It builds trust.
Which is crucial for long-term operations. And robust risk management strategies underpin all of this.
Yes. Things like formal operational risk management, or ORM. These frameworks help systematically find hazards, fix problems like maybe outdated procedures or faulty alarm systems, and ultimately balance safety, compliance, and costs.
So putting it all together, India's path isn't really about ditching oil and gas tomorrow. It's more about evolving it, making it fit for purpose in a changing world.
I think that's a good way to put it. The article calls these incremental steps towards a future model. It sees this moment, 2025, as a historic opportunity for India to shape a greener, safer, more efficient oil and gas sector.
A sector that's still vital for their energy transition and economy, but operating differently.
Exactly. It's a journey, and it depends on taking the right initial steps now.
So, wrapping up, it seems India's strategy is less about a stark choice between fossil fuels and renewables and more about a strategic modernization, using digital tools, tightening safety, improving environmental standards.
Yeah, finding a way for them to coexist, at least for the medium term, more sustainably. And technologies like digital twins and AI look absolutely central to making that happen.
This whole deep dive, I think, really illustrates a bigger point. Even these massive established industries are being reshaped by technology, by economics, and by, environmental pressures.
Definitely. And understanding how a huge player like India is navigating this complexity gives us really valuable insights into the global energy transition and the kinds of innovations emerging.
Right, which leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening. India's sheer scale and influence are undeniable. If this approach, evolving their oil and gas sector with technology while pursuing renewables, if it proves successful, could it become a kind of model?
A blueprint, perhaps, for other developing nations facing similar balancing acts between development needs and climate goals.
Exactly. What would the global ripple effects be if India pulls this off? Something definitely worth thinking about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.